Hey guys, thanks for stopping by the channel. Today's video is going to be a quick question and answer session. I've gotten a lot of questions over the last few weeks from some photographers and some people on YouTube. So let's dive into them. Let's go. So the first question today is, how did you actually become a photographer? And my basic answer is, I really don't know. I actually went to school. I got a degree in radio TV production from a local college. I did corporate video for many years and eventually moved into photography, got more and more interested in photography, and that kind of led me on the path that I'm on right now. I really don't have a specific style of photography I like to shoot. I do a lot of landscape stuff, and I do a lot of like night and star photography, and that is kind of like my main focus. However, in the past, I've shot music, I've done a lot of product photography, and that's just, who I am. And I was really big into actually urban decay and, ruin photography, but I got away from that a couple years ago, and now I've just been kind of focusing on landscape and doing the night sky stuff. So the next question is a real simple one. They asked me, what skills or traits as a photographer do you think you need to be successful? And, besides the technical stuff, besides, the cameras and all the gear and all the equipment and the editing and all the creativity and everything that goes into the shot, I think probably the most important skill you really need is a strong work ethic. You have to be willing to get out there and work, and produce content and fail at producing content. I failed at producing content, shooting images many times, especially sometimes when I'm out doing landscape photography on my own. I've spent like a day or two shooting stuff, come back with stuff that I really didn't like. Failure is all part of the game. And that's what I'm saying, like a really good work ethic is important. Also, the ability to look at yourself, to realize that everything's a learning experience. And if you fail in making an image, that's actually totally okay, because you're learning something in the process. And I think that's the important thing to remember. So what type of camera system do you use? And I'm sure every photographer gets this question. I'm kind of stuck right now between two camera systems. For my night photography, I like to use a Nikon. I use a Nikon D850 for that, only for my night photography. For anything I shoot during the day, I'm using a Fujifilm, a GFX 50S2. It's a medium format camera, and I really love what the image quality is like on the medium format sensor. My biggest problem with that camera is it doesn't shoot 4K video. So I end up having to res everything down to 1080 when I make my YouTube videos, even though I'm shooting the content, and like even the content right now, I'm shooting it at 4K. So that's basically what I'm doing for the photo stuff. So night photography, like I said, I'm using a D850, a Nikon D850. And then for actual daytime stuff, I'm using my Fujifilm, my GFX 50S2 for that. And then for video, I'm shooting everything on a Pocket 3. And I love a Pocket 3. I mean, let me tell you, the DJI Pocket 3 is just amazing. It's so easy to use. I can pass it off if I'm with a friend or I'm with my wife. We can pass it off to each other. She could shoot some footage, I could shoot some footage. It's just a really easy system for us to use, and the quality is really good. So another question from a user is, what kind of software do I use? I like to actually use Adobe Lightroom, Lightroom Classic. I'm one of those guys that still use that. For 99% of my work, that's what I'm doing my editing in. Once in a while, I'll take some images into Photoshop, especially if I'm doing stacking for star trails, like the shot behind me here on the computer. We'll load that stuff as layers into Photoshop and then create that final star trail effect. But for 99% of my work, it's happening in Adobe Lightroom Classic. So one of the questions I received is, are you a full-time photographer? Do you make your living from photography? And the basic answer to that is yes. I do commercial photography. I've done that for many years. And I also sell prints online, and I run the art show circuit, and I sell prints on the art show circuit too. And all those little streams of income basically, makes me successful and allows me to pay my bills and do everything else that I need to do. So one of the users asked me about composition and how I handle doing composition. There's ways of doing it. There's rules, the rule of thirds, the golden ratio, all those type of rules. That stuff is great, but to me, the shot really needs to feel right. Like, I need to look at it in the viewfinder, and it just has to feel right to me. So those guides I use, like the rule of thirds, I use as a basic compositional element, but sometimes those rules are meant to be broken, and it just has to feel right for me. The shot has to feel right, the subject matter in the frame, the background, that all needs to work together for me, and that's kind of basically how I do it. It's a whole lot of trial and error, but that's part of it. And like I said earlier, that's the nature of photography. It's always about learning, about adjusting, readjusting your shot, learning from your mistakes, and making those mistakes. And that's definitely all part of it. So another question from a viewer was, is there any type of photography that I used to do that I don't do anymore? And that actually is yes. For a while there, I worked on movie sets as a still photographer, and I would take pictures, still images next to the movie camera. We would use those for print and promotion and posters for the movie. I actually don't do that anymore, but I still dabble in the film business a little bit, and I still, get to do a little bit of an enjoyment there, but that's something I actually miss. I enjoyed working on film sets for a while, but the money wasn't just there, and I really needed to focus on building a business that was stable, and that's why I went away from that and started to go back in the commercial like I've been doing, and now I do the landscape photography too. So the question is, film or digital? I actually started out shooting on film. I did a lot of stuff back in the day on slide film. That was kind of like my staple. Then I did some medium format film photography. I did some panoramic film photography with a Fuji panoramic film camera. But eventually, as digital got better, I kept my eyes on it. And finally, when the Nikon D300 came out, that was basically my first digital camera. So a viewer sent this question in, and I think this is actually a really good one to end the video on. And it's just basically, what are some tips for inspiring photographers? My biggest tip for any photographer out there is basically just to get out there and shoot. Who cares if you don't come back with a portfolio shot? Who cares if you come back with nothing? It's all about getting out there and practicing your craft. And I think that's the most important thing to do. You're not going to be an overnight success if that's what you're looking for. You're not going to be a master photographer overnight if that's what you're looking for. It takes a lot of practice, and it basically takes a lot of work, to get good at something. That's why we call it craft. And I think that's really important, is, a strong work ethic, and just to basically get out there and shoot and have fun doing it. And that's what it's all about. Thanks for checking out the channel. I know this is a different type of video than I normally do. I'm actually packing right now. We're heading down to Florida for a few days to shoot, and then we're gonna work our way up to Georgia. We've got a couple other places we're going. We're gonna hit a couple swamps. So there's gonna be some great new content coming soon. Thanks for checking out the channel, sticking with me through the end of the video, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. Boom.